Okie dokie, let's go ahead and try this again. So I recorded the preview, I uploaded the preview, and what it looks like happened is that my computer did an update today, and that update affected this software. I noticed that normally it makes a clicking noise when I start or stop a video, and it stopped doing that, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. But it recorded, and it showed me it was recording, and I always watch myself down here. That's why I look like that, because I know I have to be able to see myself down there. And I'm like, okay, well, the clock's correct, and everything else is fine. So I upload it, and sure enough, it was frozen for about 10 minutes of the preview. And I don't have a way of editing it that's not going to drive me completely batty in the middle of the night. And then I have to pick up where I left off and hack this out and hack it. Forget it. I'll just go ahead and start over. So, yeah, and it's one of those things that makes me think, I need to get a digital camera, shoot these on a digital camera, and then upload them through my laptop. And that has been an idea I've had for a long time. And I understand there's a lot of YouTubers that do that. A lot of the bigger YouTubers do that. It makes for a better video experience, I know, for you guys. I'm going to have to really consider doing that potentially this month or next month, because I'm tired of Windows Update screwing it up. This is the first time it's happened in a while, but it's not the only time this has happened. Windows Update has pooched videos of mine before. And it's even made it so that now the sounds this thing makes, so when I start or stop a video, now it's changed the sounds. Why? Who at Microsoft decided that needed to be? Do we need to change? Why? What, other than screwing with people? I don't know why Microsoft does this stuff. And I used to work in a roundabout way with Microsoft people, and they would do updates, and I'd ask them. They'd be like, okay, the software is going to behave this way now, and I'd be like, oh, why? Well, because we updated it. Okay, but why? Well, because we think this will be a better experience for the customer. Nobody's ever told me they want it to do that before. How do I respond when they tell me they're angry about it? Well, I'll just tell them it's happening by design. But they don't like it. What if they don't like it? Well, it's just by design. Okay. So there you go. There's my vented frustration. First game of the night, Vancouver in against the New York Islanders, as I already reported. Vancouver's tired. It's been a long road trip. I'm not going to make excuses. They got beat tonight. The New York Islanders beat them. And this has kind of been a crashing to earth for Vancouver. And it started with the meltdown in the Buffalo game, which, I was glad they came out of that with a point. But, against the Rangers last night and now tonight against the Islanders, that's just continued. First period, Leipzig scores from Horvat and Del Zotto to make it 1-0 Vancouver. Then Kuhnhackl scored from Komarov and Filppula. Bad angle goal, but it was a goal. To make it 1-1. Bailey scored from Barzell, and then Eberle scored from Nelson and Ladd. And it's at this point where you'd throw in Bachman, but Green clearly has no plan to throw in Bachman. Second period, Virtanen scored from Eriksson and Leipzig to make it 3-2, make it spirited, and of course Virtanen, that's his 8th goal of the season. He's having an excellent year. He is. And I'm glad, because, I really wanted him to have an excellent year, and that's happening. The problem is, Pettersson with tonight's game now has 1 assist in his last 4 games. So this is kind of what happens. It's a long season, and as a rookie, you have to get used to the grind. And this is why when everybody was excited about the 10 goals in the first 10 games, I said, you got to just temper it a little bit. And then I got labeled as being a doubter. It's a long season. There's a reason that rookies don't routinely score 100-plus points. Kuhnhackl scored in the third to make it 4-2 from Eberle and Nelson. So Eberle gets on the board with a goal and an assist tonight. It's nice to see him start to pick it up. And Clutterbuck scored from Barzell and Boychuk. So Barzell with 2 more assists. That kid can score 100 assists a season. I really think so. And so it's a 5-2 win for the New York Islanders. Vancouver goes 1 for 5 on the power play. The New York Islanders go 1 for 5 on their power play. Jacob Markstrom, 29 saves on 34 shots. He probably wants a night off. He's waiting till Nelson gets back to get it. And for Greiss, 22 saves on 24 shots. Doesn't really matter who the Islanders put in net. They've got excellent goaltending. And this reverses their losing streak, and it adds to the Canucks' losing streak. So the Canucks have now lost 3 in a row, and the Islanders are right back on it. As I said this morning and yesterday, I've been talking a lot recently about the Metro Division. This keeps the Islanders in the mix. Everybody's basically in the mix, and the Devils let people know that while they're not there, they want to be there, and they're going to do whatever they can to get there. So big win for the Islanders, and for the Canucks, it's another loss, and I believe their next game's at home against Minnesota. I'm not sure. It might be on the road. I know it's on Thursday. Because I follow everybody now, I don't follow the Canucks schedule like I used to. I used to be the guy that people would walk up to on the street and go, "You're wearing a Canucks jersey. Do they play tonight?" Yep, they play here, and then 2 nights from then they play there. I'm not that guy anymore. It feels kind of weird. Anyways, moving on. The Coyotes. Boy, you want to fall to earth. This is a rough way to do it. The Coyotes went into Detroit tonight and just got stomped. But if you're a Detroit fan, and you're in the Michigan area, curly fries. And the announcers mentioned that after the first period. Curly fries. It's curly fries time. And they, honestly, ever since Arby's changed the curly fries from a Detroit Red Wing had to get a hat trick to Detroit just had to score 3 goals, they've been getting a lot of free fries. So we'll see what happens with that and how far that goes. But the fries were handed out after the first period. Because first period, Mantha scored from Nielsen and Green. Cholowski scored from DeKaiser and Bertuzzi. And Rasmussen from Larkin. So Rasmussen showing some signs of getting himself going offensively, and Larkin with a beautiful pass and that one. Second period, Glendening scored from Abdelkader and Jensen. And this was not a fun game if you're a Coyotes fan. This was a real drag because you've watched them go through and lose to Pittsburgh. Look bad there, but they look great against Washington, and now they go into Detroit, and yeah, now they're back down to an 8-8-1 record. Third period, Athanasiou from Helm. Green then scored from Athanasiou and Nielsen. So Nielsen with 2 assists in this game. And then Krause scored from Hinostroza to break up the shutout and ruin Jimmy Howard's night. But Howard's night's not going to be ruined. This was his 5th win in a row. And I believe they said this is the first time he's had 5 wins in a row personally since 2011. So it's been a good run for Detroit. If you're going, it's been a while since we went on one of these, hasn't it? You're right. And now they have 8 wins, 8 losses, 2 overtime losses, and they're going to Ottawa. So Detroit has every chance of continuing this. Arizona's 0 for 5 on the power play. Detroit's 1 for 4, which says something since Arizona has had a power play running over 90% most of the season. Kemper, 12 saves on 17 shots. I'm not really going to put it on him. Miska came in. Kid, 8 saves on 9 shots for him. Fun little mask for the kid, too, I might want to add. And Howard, 24 saves on 25 shots. Howard must feel good about this because, of course, they've been negotiating towards a new contract. And with them winning like this, it might just help him get that contract sooner rather than later. It's a rough start, and honestly, it's kind of weird because this was Chychrun's first game of the year. And this had to be rough for him because he had to be coming into tonight's game going, all right, we're winning this year. This can be different than last year. And he probably came out of tonight going, this feels like last year. What's going on? You guys were winning without me. It's not me, is it? Is it me? Is it me? So and then they all just go quiet and just sort of don't look at him, and they look at their feet, And then the coach just sort of pats him on the shoulder on the way by. Is it me, coach? And he doesn't look at him. Nobody looks at him. Anyways, Detroit, huge win, huge win, and nobody believed in them. And I said when they were losing at the start of the year, they're playing well, they just can't win, and now they can. So they're still playing well. Next up, Pittsburgh. The Penguins are in trouble. And I know it's early in the season, and I know people are going to say, oh, you say the Penguins are in trouble, but come on, they're not really, because there's a lot of hockey left, and, this is just silly. Well, here's the thing. I remember Chicago last year, they were crashing out, and there were a lot of fans that said, but Chicago will still be there at the end. And I kind of believe that, too. And then, of course, Crawford got hurt, and it just got worse. But this feels different with Pittsburgh than last year. This feels different. And it feels different because I'm not sure about the goaltending. And I know DeSmith played well tonight. We'll get to that. First period, Zajac scored from Hall and Severson to make it 1-0. Then Kessel scored from Crosby and Malkin to make it 1-1. Second period, Severson scores from Hall and Bratt. So Hall had 4 points tonight. I just want to throw that in there. Hall played well. 4 points on all 4. He scored on all 4 goals that the Devils had. Third period, Gensel scored from Crosby and Kessel. There will be Devils fans who say that there was interference. There wasn't. Exactly. There was interference by Crosby, but he was pushed in by the Devils defender. Therefore, the goal was good. And for Kincaid, he had no chance on that goal whatsoever because he was pulled out of the net by Crosby, and the puck's left sitting there for Jake Gensel. First goal by Gensel, and I believe they said it was 8 games. Then Hall scored from Zajac and Palmieri to make it 3-2, followed by Hall from Nason. So, big night if you're a Devils fan. Rough night if you're a Penguins fan. The Penguins 1 for 3 on the power play. New Jersey 0 for 2. Casey DeSmith, 31 saves on 34 shots. He had a good game. Kincaid, 29 saves on 31 shots. On every possible score of this is a win for the New Jersey Devils, and it is the kind of game that they needed. This is exactly what they needed. They're at home, so they win at home. They win against a division rival. They win against an Eastern team, which has been a challenge for them this year. And Taylor Hall really, in a big way, gets his scoring going. And for Pittsburgh, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Ever since that big shutout win they got in Toronto, it just feels like that was kind of it. Kind of like that was their big game, and there hasn't been anything to follow them up. Malkin got an assist tonight. It's the first point he's had in a little while, and that was it for him. So Pittsburgh's big guns have got to start really producing, other than Crosby. Crosby's been fantastic. He gets 2 points tonight. Crosby's doing everything he can. It just feels like the rest of the team is kind of, I don't know, there's something wrong in Pittsburgh, and you have to ask yourself, are they going to make a trade soon, or are they going to look at Mike Sullivan and go, sorry, we regularly fire coaches. It's not you, it's us, but we're going to have to go ahead and kick you out now. Anyways, that's how that one went tonight. It was a very unpredictable result there. Speaking of unpredictable, Florida and Philly. I had no idea who was winning this game. And honestly, right up until the end, Philly made me think they could come back in this one. Florida bent, they didn't break. First period, no goals. So it felt like the games last night. And the score ended up like the games last night. Second period, Ekblad scored from Vetrano and Hoffman. Vetrano looked good. Dadonov and Barkov combined for the next goal. Dadonov's goal, Barkov's assist. Barkov has started putting up some serious points. And I again, you know, players talk about how he's underrated. We always talk about how he's underrated. But if everybody's talking about a guy being underrated, is he? Because we're all agreeing he's pretty darn good. So, yeah. Anyways, third period, the Flyers did everything they could except tie it. Voracek did score from Lindblom and Couturier, so Couturier continues the hot streak he's been on, and we'll see how long that can continue past this. Florida went 1 for 3 on the power play. Philadelphia 0 for 1 on theirs. Luongo saved 30 out of 31 shots. Elliott saved 28 out of 30 for the Philadelphia Flyers. So the Flyers kind of waste an excellent start from Elliott, which has to be frustrating for him. He's won games where he's allowed more goals than this. And tonight they just couldn't get that tying goal. And for Luongo, he has been on an amazing run. He's now 4-0 since his return. And Florida's 5-0 since his return. It's not a coincidence. They got the goaltending, and now they're winning games. It is a very simple formula for Florida, and it's winning. And Hoffman continues his point streak, as does Dadonov. And these Panthers are starting to do exactly what I said that they would do, and I'm proud of them. I don't know how long it goes, but at least they're starting to get those wins, and they're starting to look like a playoff team. And with the Atlantic Division being so unpredictable right now, I still think Florida's going to end up somehow getting in there and getting themselves a playoff spot. And for Philly, because the Metro's so wide open, I don't look at tonight's result and say that's necessarily the end of the road or anything. I'm not going to be that dramatic about it. It's a rough loss. You just move on. They did everything except tie it. Against almost any other goaltender, they would have tied it and forced overtime. They might have even scored 3 against almost any other goaltender with the shots they had tonight. Luongo was just fantastic. Next up. So, Tampa. The Lightning are odd, aren't they? It kind of feels like maybe that loss they suffered against Ottawa. No, it doesn't. I'm not going to go that far. Tampa dominates the game at points, but the end result is what matters. So Buffalo will take these 2 points and run. Run as fast as they can. This is one of 3 chances they have at Tampa, and they beat them. So, big win for Buffalo tonight. They're not going to ask how. I would imagine Carter Hutton might have kissed the posts after this game. I wouldn't blame him if he did, because I thought Tampa was coming back too. First period, Skinner scored from Reinhart and Beaulieu. Second period, Okposo gets the what would turn out to be the game winner from Sherry and Middlestad. Beautiful pass by Sherry. But seconds after, Cirelli scores to tie it from Killorn and Gourde. And when that goal was scored, it's an absolutely beautiful, it's an alley-oop pass. It looks like a basketball pass is what it looks like. I highly recommend the highlights. And if I had the right to show highlights on here, wouldn't that be amazing? Anyways, that's not going to happen. So we'll just keep up with the magnets. Cirelli with that goal, it was an absolute beauty. And I really thought coming off that goal, I thought, okay, Tampa's got momentum now. This game could turn quickly. Nope. The posts and Carter Hutton kept him out. Third period, no scoring. Tampa only had one power play in the game. Smart move by Buffalo into taking penalties. Tampa didn't take any either. Buffalo only had one power play. Demang makes 17 saves on 19 shots. And Carter Hutton made 29 saves on 30 shots. So Tampa dominates everywhere except where it matters, which is the goals scored. For Buffalo, I think we can start talking about them as a playoff team. And I think we can start talking about it as being a reality. And I contrast that with what's going on with Vancouver, where, yes, they're first in their division. At least they were coming into tonight. Did San Jose pass them? Anyways, but while being in a playoff spot currently, I think most Canuck fans would admit it could be precarious. Buffalo feels more real than does Vancouver. Buffalo feels further along in the process of becoming a good team than does Vancouver. So whether that's real or that's just imagined, and some of that could just be a PTSD thing for us Canuck fans, and it's real. I mean, we've been dealing with this for a long time. But for Buffalo fans, I'm sure that's real as well, and it's got to feel kind of nice tonight. So enjoy the win over Tampa. Don't overanalyze it too much with how the win happened. Just take that win and just run with it, and maybe go out and buy yourself some lotto tickets, because this was a big one tonight for Buffalo. So I'm going to go ahead and switch boards. Okie dokie. Next up, I'm wearing an Oilers jersey because they won tonight, and they don't do that very often. So I thought, all right, I'll throw on Oilers. I try to make sure I'm wearing a jersey of a team that's won, and I've worn Toronto lately, and San Jose, and Capitals, and Islanders not as much, but I've worn Islanders plenty the last month. Detroit I've worn recently. Jersey, I think so. Florida I wore this morning, and Buffalo I wore that today too. So there goes the whole idea that I'm a jinx. Remember that. Next time you see always wearing my jerseys, we're going to lose. Remember that. It hurts. Edmonton hurt Montreal tonight. First period, Benning from McDavid and Draisaitl. The Oilers loaded up that first line. We're going to put all the guns on the first line. And honestly, they did it because they had to. McClellan's job is on the line, and you've got to do what you got to do to get the goals. Domi scored from Shaw and Juleson to tie it up, and then Draisaitl scored from McDavid before the end of the first, so it's 2-1 Edmonton. Montreal ties it early. Shaw from Drouin and Petrie. So this is a Montreal game right here, right? Montreal lets you get ahead and then keeps coming back. And that speed was on display tonight, but Edmonton managed to overcome it. Kajula from Chason and Benning before the end of the second. It's 3-2. And then in the third, Edmonton takes over. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins from Strome and Roussel. Then Russell. Roussel plays for Vancouver. And then Russell from Gravel and Kara. And then Nurse from McDavid and Draisaitl. So McDavid and Draisaitl get on the board quite a bit. They had a pretty good game. So out of the 6 goals, McDavid factors into 3 of them, which is 50% of the offense of the Edmonton Oilers, which isn't bad considering it was 6 goals. Anyways, Montreal goes 0-3 on the power play. Edmonton goes 0-3 on theirs, which is the only thing Montreal will come out of this and go, well, our penalty kill went 3-3. There's a goaltending problem in Montreal. There's a goaltending and defense problem in Montreal. 37 saves on 43 shots means that both goalies are well below 900. So either it's the goaltending isn't good enough or the defense isn't good enough. And this is kind of where we had expected Montreal to struggle this year. Although they're in a playoff spot, we'd expected this part of the struggle. We hadn't expected the scoring. Koskinen makes 27 saves on 29 shots, and I think McClellan's going to start playing him more from here because he wants to save his job. He's not going to keep throwing in Talbot if Talbot's playing below average. So watch for Koskinen to get more starts than what he had been getting previously. And on the Niemi side, I don't know what you do if you're Montreal right now. I really don't. Niemi's numbers are starting to look like Antti Niemi's numbers before he got to Montreal. And Carey Price he needs the next start. So wherever that next start is, whether it's Calgary, Vancouver, wherever, get it to Carey Price. And this is why I've said maybe just play Price through it, because Niemi's not a starter. He can be a decent backup. He's not a starter, not at this point in his career. And if Montreal is going to put that on him, they're going to struggle, because that kind of offense of 4+ goals a game, it's impossible to maintain as defenses get better as the season goes along. Next up, Toronto. This was ugly, wasn't it? If you watched this, you watched kind of a slaughter. The score flatters LA. 5-1 flatters LA, because it was 5-0, or 5. I should say it was 5-1. Pretty early on in the second, it felt like this was going to be a 10-2 or 11-1 game, and in the end, it didn't work out that way. But Freddie Anderson barely broke a sweat in some parts of this game. Kadri scored in the first from Marner and Tavares, then Tavares from Riley to make it 2-0. Kempe scored from Phaneuf to make it 2-1, but it never really felt like LA was in this. I never got the feeling that LA was going to come back. And then the announcers too, they were talking about how Kovalchuk's the number one scorer for the Kings, but at his age, is that a good thing? And I thought, wow, they're just scathing these Kings, and they were most of the night. The announcers, and it was Sportsnet, so this is Toronto centric, but they were skewering the Kings. Riley scored from Tavares. Riley's up to 8 goals now. His career high is 9. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go out on a limb. Riley's going to beat his all-time best goals total of 9 this year. He'll score more than 1 the rest of the season. Janssen scored from Dermott and Lindholm to make it 4-1, and then Kadri from Marleau and Marner after they had switched goaltenders. But I'm not putting this on Budai either. There's no way. I can't. This was not good. Toronto's power play went 3 for 6, and the defensive coverage just abysmal. And LA is known for their penalty kill. So if that penalty kill is going to play like it did tonight, and I get it, Toronto's power play is lethal, but LA was supposed to be able to nullify that. I'm used to LA penalty kills being better than this. LA's power play was 0 for 2. Anderson, 22 saves on 23 shots. That's right. They managed 23 shots. That's less than 8 per period, and it's not good enough. When at the other end, there were 35 shots. Budai saved 15 out of 19 for the Kings, then got pulled. Cal Peterson went in the net. They showed his name as Calvin on the board when he went in, and I'm like, okay, I thought it was just Cal Peterson. So I've always seen it Cal, but they said Calvin, so all right. 15 saves on 16 shots for him, and good stats for him in his first game. Congratulations. Do you start him next game? How far down is their goaltending depth going to go? Are we looking at Vegas level? Is Legace going to end up being their starter at some point in LA? The difference, of course, being last year Vegas managed to come through that. LA, it's just be piling on. It's just endless piling on. And I almost half expect to find out that Jack Campbell and Jonathan Quick have kind of been kidding this whole time, and they're off enjoying themselves having Mai Tais in Fiji, and they're just not answering their phones. They've gone, forget the Kings. Like Quick has been down there for weeks, and he phoned Campbell the other night and said, look, dude, you got to get out of there. Come on to Fiji. And he's like, Fiji? I'm there. So they're enjoying themselves, and the Kings aren't. That's kind of part of what I think in my brain's going on. Next up. So, Nashville. This was a tough night, but it's one of those games that, and I've pointed this out before, right? Where there's these huge momentum shifts. So there were kind of like a 3 different game mentality with 3 different periods being 3 different games. San Jose fans were taken on a ride tonight. They started out very loud, they got very quiet, and then they got loud again. First period, Sorensen starts the party in San Jose with a goal. Then Pavelski from Karlsson and Hertl. Yes, Erik Karlsson got on the board tonight. He got himself an assist. Let's hope that's the start of something for Erik Karlsson, because he didn't get anything else on the other 4 goals. Suomela scored before the end of the first period to make it 3-0, and it looked like San Jose was going to win this. So you're looking at this and you're like, all right, 3-0 lead for San Jose. There's something weird about leads this year. They don't mean anything anymore. Leads just don't matter. Second period, Smith scored from Johansson and Bonino. Then Forsberg scored, and then Forsberg again from Smith. And that Forsberg goal from Smith was just awesome. So that made it 3-3. And it's like, okie dokie. Third period, Grimaldi scored from Fiala and Irwin, and it looked like Nashville was going to steal this one on the road. Remember, this is a Nashville team coming off of a shootout loss last night against the Anaheim Ducks. This is a Nashville team that has been on the road, and they're tired. And they went 65 minutes. And now tonight they were being taken to task by a very game San Jose team. And I don't know if that wore them down, but in the end, San Jose pulls it out. Pavelski scored I think that's a goal that Saros wouldn't be happy with. He scored that from Sorensen and Burns. And although I will say he was trying to pass it and then shot it, so maybe that allowed Saros to have that momentary, okay, he's passing, wait, he's shooting. So he caught him off guard. And then Thornton, seconds after that, scores his 400th from Sorensen and Braun. So Sorensen has 3 points tonight. He's actually having a decent season. I know he hasn't been in my top 8 scorers, but I have a funny feeling after this game, he's going to be. And Burns, yeah, he continues his scoring pace. And for Thornton, congratulations on 400 goals, Jumbo Joe. We didn't think you'd get there. We thought last season was your last. And then you get hurt this year, and there's like, oh, I don't know if he's going to come back. And then he comes back and he gets his 400. So congratulations to him. It's just extra topping on a Hall of Fame worthy career, and good show for him. And his celebration for that 400th goal was kind of awesome, and his beard's growing back. I remember him shaving off his beard and saying his wife would be happy. So did she make him angry, and so he's growing the beard back, or why is he growing the beard back? Because it's already starting to look kind of scruffy. Anyways, Nashville goes 0 for 3 on the power play, and this power play has become, you can tell it's in their heads. You can see it. You can see that they're not confident in their passes. They're overpassing, something the Canucks have been doing as well in their power play. Overpassing is generally a sign of a power play that lacks that confidence, where you're just yelling shoot, and the guy's got a decent shot. He's like, he's got a better shot at it than I do, or I know he'll get it. So there's some of that going on with Nashville's power play to the point where they don't even want to talk about it anymore. San Jose goes 1 for 5 on their power play. UC Saros, 32 saves on 37 shots, and Martin Jones is not allowed to have a save percentage above 900. He saved 30 out of 34 tonight, and we'll see the next time I do a San Jose preview if he's below 900. He was at 900 coming into tonight, so percentage points being as they are, he may still be at 900, but I'm guessing it's 899 because that's what happens. But he gets the win, so I don't think he's really going to care too much. I think I'm the only one caring at this point. I don't think he's going to care. So for San Jose, a huge win for them. For Nashville, it's a tough loss. It's their first regulation loss on the road this season. So we'll see if Nashville can pull out of it. Spoiler alert, they can and they will. Next up. And finally, last but not least, my second take of this video all the way through. I end up with the Washington Capitals and the Minnesota Wild. And boy, oh boy, Capitals. If you guys can play like this every night, you can repeat as Stanley Cup champions. That being said, you got to consistently play well. And maybe Wilson's been that guy missing. So, Adam, yes, Wilson may have made that difference tonight. First period, Orlov from Eller and Burakovsky. Then Wilson from Orlov and Kuznetsov. And Wilson does what only Wilson can do. He scores a goal, then runs into the goaltender, and gets a penalty. So he got the goal and the penalty at the same time. I don't know if we can have a Tom Wilson hat trick, but those are two of the moves to cause a Tom Wilson hat trick. Has to be. That absolutely has to become a thing. So it's 2-0 after 1, and Wilson gets a penalty as he scores, which is just, I still don't get it. Anyways, second period, Burakovsky scores from Eller and Connolly, and it's 3-0. And if anybody's wondering if that goal should have counted, the answer is yes, because the puck was already in the net. Puck was already behind the goaltender at the time that the interference took place. Koivu scored to make it 3-1, but it never really felt to me like Minnesota was going to come back and win this. Washington looked like the Stanley Cup champions. They looked like defending Stanley Cup champions tonight. Third period, Orlov scores from Ovechkin and Niskanen to make it 4-1, and then Oshie from Backstrom and Vrana to make it 5-1, and then Dumba scored from Koivu and Foligno to make it less embarrassing, make it 5-2, look a little better on the scoreboard, but we all know what the actual score was. It was bad. The Capitals go 0 for 2 on the power play, so they didn't even need their power play tonight. Minnesota goes 1 for 6 on their power play. Doesn't end up mattering very much. Phoenix Copley's getting better with every game. 26 saves on 28 shots tonight. If Holtby struggles at points, I now have full confidence that Copley's capable of filling in. And Dubnyk, 28 saves on 33 shots for him. So Dubnyk has a night that he probably want to forget. Minnesota has a night they'll want to forget. And the good news is, when you come into tonight 11-4-2, you can absolutely forget it. Because you're still up near the top of the league. And as long as they win their next game, they're good. So there you go. Once again, I have finished all 9 games. I will double check this before I upload it. And if there's any freezing in the video, the screams will be heard all around North America. So just keep your ears open. Well, if you're watching this, then it didn't happen. But yeah, if there was, yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Just tapping upon this video, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.